CNN has published new photos of Jeffrey Epstein at Donald Trump's wedding in 1993. A decade plus before anybody knew Epstein was doing anything. It was called the wedding of the century. Tons of random people were invited, just like Bezos' wedding. So CNN is making me question this whole thing now. Why is it that CNN, the New York Times, and all of these outlets are going so hard after this story, publishing things that seemingly make no sense, like Donald Trump sent a birthday letter to Epstein where he drew an illicit photo with a marker and then wrote Donald. And they never even showed us the letter, which apparently they have. And they never told us explicitly that it was signed by Donald Trump, but they're claiming it was him. And now you've got CNN publishing these photos of Epstein. What we knew Epstein was gallivanting about with high-profile individuals. That's the point. And as many of us have already made an additional point, just because someone flew on his plane doesn't mean that it means they're guilty or were on his client list. And that's a figurative statement, like they were involved in his business. Now, maybe Trump is, whatever, fine. I don't care. Publish the information. Trump says he's going to have Pam Bondi do it. It is very strange, to be honest. When Trump was asked about Ghislaine Maxwell's conviction, he says, I wish her well. I don't know much about it. Most people did, but to be fair, maybe Trump really doesn't. But Trump does seem a bit antsy about the whole thing. Now, media is reporting, you've got to be kidding me. Trump hangs up on CNN reporter for just 30 seconds as he's asked about new Epstein photos. I got to be honest. I might do the exact same thing. This is 1993. This is not Donald Trump caught with his hand in a cookie jar. It was a high-profile wedding with tons of random people. Now, hey, Trump's a celebrity, and he's going to invite basically everybody. And at the time, Epstein was just some rich guy gallivanting about at all these New York high-life parties. Then, 10 years later, they find out what Epstein is doing. And apparently the story is Trump basically excised him. Said, get out of my club. I don't want to be involved. I don't know what it is you're doing. Get out. Certainly, the left has a different view because they live in crackpot conspiracy reality. But I got to tell you this, my friends. I'd like to see the Epstein files released, but it is really funny. There's that meme. I think Luke Rudkowski has a T-shirt where it's like, I used to believe in aliens until the government told me to. And that's kind of the funny thing. Like, the worst people you know are desperately trying to convince you that this photo from a wedding implicates Trump in some way. But you know what? The stupidest people fall for all of it, right? They believe that Donald Trump called neo-Nazis very fine people when he never did. They know that saying Epstein was at Trump's wedding will, in the minds of the anti-Trump people, prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. Well, here's the clip from CNN. Let's see what they had to say. And then I'm going to talk to you about how CNN is full of it and they're liars. And it's really quite remarkable.
Andrew Kaczynski of K-File is here with the new images of Trump and Epstein. And Andrew, I shared one of them there. But, so let's start with the one at Trump's wedding. I mean, this is a significant development.
Well, yeah, it is. Trump's wedding to Marla Maples in 1993 was dubbed the wedding of the century by the media at the time. And although we know that Trump and Epstein were friends during this period, this is really the first time that it's actually been reported that Trump invited Epstein to his wedding. This is, we should note, more than a decade before those first allegations of sex trafficking against Epstein. But as you know...
hold on there a minute, okay, file buddy. Listen... You don't get to try and frame this as Trump being a paragon of virtue who invited a good buddy to his wedding. Which wedding? Come on. The corporate press has ragged on Trump for having multiple baby mamas the whole time. This is not like Trump's one special day. It was a big, high-profile celebrity event. Trump got married. He got married a lot.
Trump's relationship with Epstein has been under the microscope recently. Now,
indeed it is.
Besides that one photo of Epstein entering the reception at the Plaza Hotel, we can also see him in the background of another picture. That's Howard Stern on the far right, along with Robin Leach from Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. And Epstein is behind them at the wedding, almost seeming to be photobombing them.
Is that Epstein? I mean, I got to be honest, it's kind of hard to tell. I'm going to say it right now. If Trump is implicated in any of this, release all the files. I'd love to hear it. But the problem I have with all of this is that it is conjecture nonsense from an outlet that lies intentionally, and I'm going to prove it. I mean, to be fair, there's so much proof. But I do have an article that I want to pull up in just a second to show you how they play dirty games and manipulate. What do we call this? what is it? Factful but not truthful. Is that how Michael Malice says it? Basically, they give you details that individually, as granules, can be considered true, and then they pull context out so that you don't understand exactly what happened. So you could say something like, headline: Donald Trump throws puppy out window. And then it's like, oh my God. And at the very bottom of the article, it was Trump had no choice as the building was burning. The dog landed safely onto a bunch of mattresses that firefighters had placed, thus saving the dog. They will omit the context so that they can frame it in a way to make it seem bad.
I also found this photo from just a few months earlier. Donald Trump with two of his children talking to Jeffrey Epstein. That's at the opening of the Harley-Davidson Cafe in New York.
Okay, you see what they did? Talking to Epstein? He's not talking to Epstein. Epstein's not even looking at him. But, dude, tell me Trump and Epstein were friends, and I say, that's interesting. We should look into this. Trump then acts all flustered, and I say, oh, man, I'd like to see what's going on here. And I'm curious as to why Trump is so flustered over this one, claiming it's a Democrat hoax. I don't buy it. But is CNN trying to discredit the Epstein story? Like, I got to be honest, maybe that's their play, because they know that people who have been completely traumatized by media lies are never going to believe them.
New York in October 1993. You can see Ivana there. She would have been just about.
He's not talking to Epstein. Epstein's not even looking at him. They're at the opening of the Harley-Davidson, whatever. And so a bunch of people walked in the building and Trump is near a guy.
That photo.
Yeah, you can see Ivanka right there between Trump and Epstein.
What?
All right,
Where?
These are never before seen photos, Andrew. I know
his
you
kids,
also
right.
found some video of Trump and Epstein that was from later of them talking that has also never surfaced before. What's that?
Well, that's right. This is from
what's that?
6 years later in 1999. This video has never been seen before in this context. It shows Trump talking to Jeffrey Epstein just before models hit the runway at the Victoria's Secret fashion show in New York in 1999. You know, the only other video we've seen of the two men was 7 years before this. Trump is at the show with Melania, who is, of course, now First Lady, seated a few
you know what? I mean, I'll give him that. The only other footage they saw of Trump was 7 years before that. Sounds like they are desperately trying to make the story that Trump and Epstein were good friends, to implicate him and make it seem like they worked together, when the story seems to be that Epstein, as everybody knows, was gallivanting about New York at high-profile parties. And the question is, how did he get the money? Who is he working with? Which agencies, if any, was he working with? Speculation of CIA, MI6, Mossad, or otherwise. We really don't know. It's all a bit conspiratorial. We do know that the guy was deeply involved in illicit activities, I would say largely because of the people around him. Virginia Giuffre's testimony. Prince Andrew's on that list, I'd imagine. Now, it does seem like Donald Trump schmoozed everybody. In fact, when they accused Donald Trump of rape of E. Jean Carroll, he said, I don't even know who this lady is. And they're like, actually, we have a photo of you with her from 1994. And it's like, yeah, because Trump went to every single party in New York, so you're going to be able to find photos eventually of Trump with basically anybody. Did you see the photo of Trump with Howard Stern? Howard Stern's a liberal. That proves it. Now, let's be serious. I don't see anything compelling in the 90s. Trump was around Epstein, and Epstein was around a ton of people. Why don't we do this? Did you guys see that photo of Howard Stern hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein? That's right. Howard Stern hanging out. You see what you can do here? You can take any. Did you guys know that Howard Stern and Epstein went to a party together in 1993? They actually went to a party together. I don't mean at the same time, but they're at the same party. This is the issue I take with it. We know that Epstein was gallivanting around with high-profile people. Okay, we know many of them flew on his private jet. We don't know which of them were going to his island. Oh, I'm sorry, to be fair, we know a handful that went to the island. But we want to know who was deeply entrenched in whatever weird garbage this man was doing. Now, Trump does seem flustered by it, so I'll give him that. And I don't care if it's Trump or anybody else. I want to see whatever evidence can be. I'm with Thomas Massey on this one. Now, I do believe that if Trump actually was implicated in any way, CNN wouldn't be going like, look at this photo from 32 years ago. The Democrats would have released a single sentence or an image or something actually damaging to Trump. Now, I want to show you this. This is from CNN, and I'm going to break down how CNN lies. Trump accuses Obama of treason, annotated. Actually, there's another really good example. Let's do this. ABC News. let's see, treason. I'm going to pull this one up because it's a trick most of you are familiar with. And we'll start here. ABC News. Trump accuses Obama of treason in the Oval Office. They tried to rig the election, Trump claimed, without presenting evidence. I mean, here's 46 documents released by Tulsi Gabbard, which is called evidence. And Tulsi is Trump's director of national intelligence. Approved for release. This is from the September 2020. Talks about how Obama ordered this despite knowing this information was wrong. So when they say without evidence, CNN does something very interesting. And they call this Trump accuses Obama of treason annotated. Say, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard on Friday released a slew of documents that she said implicated members of the Obama administration for treasonous behavior during the 2016 election. The claims confuse the allegation that Russia interfered in the 2016 election with the idea that Russia actively tried to change the results by hacking into voting systems. CNN's Jeremy Herb and Katie Bowe-Lillis went through that and talked to people who worked on a bipartisan Senate review of the 2016 election. Okay, now that you get it, here's the general idea. The Steele dossier was the predicate information used by the Obama administration to claim that Trump was colluding with Russia, which resulted in a multi-years-long investigation. Let's separate the two. CNN and these other outlets are trying to conflate them while claiming they're doing the inverse. The claim that Russia interfered in some capacity is the stupidest true you can ever call stupid. That is, Iran, Russia, China, Brazil, Venezuela, literally all of them are engaged in influence operations in some capacity. And we call this the subliminal, the liminal, and the superliminal, for those that get the reference. And the subliminal, of course, is when they run campaigns in the United States where sock puppet accounts might say, I just plumb don't like Trump. The liminal are when it is more like when you have actual ad campaigns supporting a country and, you know, promoting their interests. And the superliminal is when quite literally their politicians and personalities, I'm not saying Russia, any country, condemn and call them out on X or something, like Iran does it all the time. So when they say Russia tried to interfere, it's like, sure, yeah. I mean, I think they spent $100,000 over a couple of years to promote some Facebook pages, but it doesn't seem like an operation they're actually heavily focused on, for instance. And then we have this. The actual story is that despite knowing that the interference was kind of nothing, there was no actual flipping of votes, the Obama administration decided to go after Trump as though he was colluding with Russia. And we got a multi-year-long investigation that scrutinized and bogged down Trump's administration, resulting in Carter Page being falsely accused with evidence falsely presented against him. That's right. Kevin Kleinsmith altered evidence to get a FISA warrant against him. They used phony intel from opposition research by Hillary Clinton to go after Trump. Why? Because Trump was threatening to lock her up over the private server where she destroyed evidence and committed crimes. And thus, we are here at CNN, where they annotate Trump's quotes. Trump, well, based on what I read pretty much what you read. It would be President Obama. He started it, and Biden was there with them. So Trump is citing documents released by the DNI. CNN says Trump said all this in the Oval Office, which he was bedecked with gold filigree. So what? Porch from the White House and vault copy behind a curtain of the Declaration of Independence. The purpose of that sentence that CNN has put there is to enrage people who don't like Trump. They're trying to say, we can't actually counter anything Trump claimed in this sentence. So we want you to assume he's a liar and look at the decorum that is being besmirched. Trump says this Oval Office is much more beautiful than it was then, okay? They say the new allegations from Gabbard lean on assessments before the election and statements from Obama-era intelligence officials finding that Russia did not alter the election results through cyber attacks aimed at infiltrating voter systems. Stop. They're acting as though the conclusions came before the orders. That is, we knew before the Mueller investigation concluded. Don't get me wrong. I was on the wrong side of this one. I was in the middle of the road. But the Obama administration knew it was not true, that the information was dubious, and they went with it anyway, ultimately resulting in nothing. At the time, I was saying, is this correct? Wow, it was being reported far and wide. I trust the media. Look, I'm reading CNN, and this is where my trust in the system is completely destroyed. Now, don't get me wrong. I put out a video on Sargon Avocad, had me put Carl Benjamin, had me do a video on his channel where I broke down how media lies because I knew they did, but I didn't think it was going to be this bad that they would stage a coup against the president, against Donald Trump. And then we learned our lesson. Take a look at some more of this. Trump says, and except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life, fact is what they're doing. Treason, the crime of trying to overthrow the government, could be punishable by death. I hate these people. Guys, you know how I go over this every single day. Treason is levying war against the United States and adhering to its enemy or providing aid and comfort. You can call it colloquial treason in that you've betrayed your nation in some capacity, but seditious conspiracy is trying to overthrow the government. CNN, hire a fact checker. You guys are so full of it. Now, treason could be punishable by death. That's true. They say even when the DOJ during the Biden admin accused Trump of election interference over the 2020 election, it did not accuse him of treason because that would require him adhering to our enemies or levying war against this country. So, yes, Trump is incorrect to say treason unless he wants to argue that waging war against this, that having a cabal of law enforcement was waging war against this country. I suppose you could argue that because there was an organized effort, but I'd say seditious conspiracy makes more sense. They're going to mention they tried to steal the election. They say, we anticipate seeing them, although previously promised document dumps have failed to live up to expectations. That's an opinion. Complete opinion statement. To be fair, it's an analysis, right? I love this one. Here we go. This is the one. This is it right here. The Steele dossier has been discredited, but the larger conclusion of the U.S. intelligence community that Russia tried to meddle in the U.S. election has stood. So has the Mueller report's conclusion that there were interactions between Trump's campaign and the Russians during the 2016 campaign. So what? So what? There's interactions between Obama and the Russians and the Chinese. That's called foreign policy. Michael Flynn was talking with some Russian advisor, a minister, because he was like, yeah, I'm going to be Trump's national security advisor. We'll be coming into the administration soon. We'll figure something out. And then the FBI accused him of lying to them when he wasn't even formally being investigated. And he didn't do anything wrong. They tried going after him under the Logan Act. But despite the fact he was the incoming national security advisor. Carter Page, Papadopoulos, these people had force wielded against them. Now, here's the best part. Mueller's report did not conclude that Trump's campaign colluded with the Russians or that Trump committed a crime. It also did not exonerate him. That sentence right there. So you know they're lying to you. It's so wild how the media will lie, cheat, steal, and smear people like me, people like Crowder, people like Russell Brand, people like Dave Rubin. The list goes on. Benny Johnson. They will lie. You can get mad at us when we're wrong because we get things wrong. You can call us whatever name you want. It's your opinion. But when you play games like this, don't act like you're taking the high road. Of course it didn't exonerate him. Investigations have literally never exonerated anybody, only by accident in some circumstances. That is, the idea that you've accused Trump of something that is unfalsifiable. Did he secretly collude with the Russians? You can't exonerate him. Because how do you prove the negative? Now, if you said Trump flew on Air Force One to Disneyland on May 23rd at 7 p.m., that you could actually exonerate. And you'd be like, actually, no, Trump was on TV giving a statement. Or I don't, the date I made up. I'm just making a point. You can only really exonerate someone when you're accusing them of something very direct. To say that Trump colluded with the Russians could never be exonerated because there's an infinite number of seconds in the day, frames of time by which Trump could have done something you can't prove he didn't. You have no evidence to claim he did, but you can't exonerate him because you don't follow him around 24/7. That's true of almost every single crime. So when I see this, how they're lying, defending Obama, why? I don't care about Trump or Obama. Let me play this game right now. If you got evidence that Trump was working with Epstein on the Lolita Express to Epstein Island to traffic women, publish it and lock the man up. And Obama, if you've got evidence of his criminal conspiracy in Crossfire Hurricane, it appears we're starting to see it, by all means, arrest him and lock him up. I will pull no punches and I will spare no one. I don't care if it's Trump. I don't care if it's J.D. Vance. I don't care if it's Biden. I don't care if it's Obama. If they committed a crime and they're corrupt, we want accountability. And I guarantee you this, every single one of Trump supporters, every single one, if Trump is exposed as a ringleader in this conspiracy with Epstein, is going to say, lock him up. Well, actually, I'll put it this way, 95%. Because some people are going to be like, I don't care. Trump is the best. And they're culty about it. But the big reason many people get behind Trump for so much of this is that they believe he's going to expose these conspiracies. So when Trump gets all flustered and backs off, people get upset about it. Now, I'll put it this way. My first priority, as I stated yesterday, people got mad. I don't care. Okay. Look, you're allowed to get mad at me. Okay. But my first priority, what we in this country need is legislative agenda success. That is securing our border. We had this Democrat the other day saying she wants immigrants to boost her congressional seats for redistricting purposes. They're telling you they're cheating outright and subverting the will of the people. That's Trump's agenda. It's got to succeed. Second, Obama conspiracy. I want to get to the bottom of this. If the evidence shows no real crime was committed, whatever, fine. I think the evidence does suggest it show that it is happening. It is, and it's ongoing. After that, Epstein, because the Epstein story isn't going anywhere. It can't go anywhere, right? The Obama story is now, and if we don't get a handle on the corruption, Trump could lose power. We could lose the agenda. We get flooded with illegal immigrants. The will of the people subverted. And then we're voting against a group of people who have no stake in this country and don't care about us. Biden let in 10 million. So that's the order of priorities I see. So for right now, I would rather see investigations and accountability on Obama than anything else. I'm going to wrap it up there, my friends. We had a lot more. Tulsi Gabbard just dumped this big data that I still have to go through. It just dropped this morning, and it apparently provides evidence. She's been putting this one out. They're keeping this campaign going. We'll get more of that later today. Smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you know. Stay tuned, my friends. Follow me on X and Instagram. Subscribe, and we'll see you all in the next segment.